Admiral Sarah Chen stared at the holographic display floating above the command deck of the EDS Prometheus, Earth's most advanced warship hiding in plain sight. The massive Nexari dreadnought that had just emerged from hyperspace looked exactly as their long-range scouts had predicted, all sleek crystalline angles and pulsing energy conduits, a testament to their biological-technological integration that had made them the dominant force in this sector of the galaxy. "They're scanning the system," Lieutenant James Rodriguez reported from his sensor station, his fingers dancing across the neural interface. "Standard sweep pattern. Just as our intel suggested, they're only looking for conventional energy signatures." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The Nexari's overconfidence would be their undoing. For 3 decades, humanity had known they weren't alone in the universe. When the first Nexari probe had crashed in the Gobi Desert, Earth's governments had made the unanimous decision to keep it secret. Not out of fear, but because it presented an unprecedented opportunity. The probe had revealed something crucial about the Nexari. Their absolute certainty and their technological superiority had made them predictable. They followed the same development patterns, the same tactical doctrines, the same scanning protocols they'd used for millennia. Why change what had worked against hundreds of other civilizations? "Their preliminary scans are complete," Rodriguez announced. "They're cataloging us as a pre-FTL civilization. Current tech-level assessment, early space age. Their tactical systems are classifying our orbital satellites as primitive observation platforms." "Perfect," Sarah responded, watching as 3 more Nexari ships emerged from hyperspace. Status of the quantum mesh. Dr. Maya Patel, the architect of humanity's greatest technological leap, spoke from her station. "The mesh is stable and completely undetectable to their sensors. As far as they're concerned, we're still burning chemical rockets to reach low Earth orbit." The quantum mesh was humanity's masterpiece, a planet-wide network of entangled particles that allowed instantaneous communication and energy transfer. But more importantly, it let them mask their true technological capabilities behind a facade of primitive development. The Nexari flagship, nearly 3 kilometers of crystalline perfection, moved into high Earth orbit. Right on schedule, they began broadcasting their standard first contact message. It echoed through every communication device on Earth, translated into all major languages. "People of Earth, we are the Nexari Collective. Your civilization has been deemed worthy of integration into our empire. Surrender peacefully, and you will be granted protectorate status. Resist, and you will be subjugated by force. You have 1 planetary rotation to comply." Sarah opened a secure channel to the United Earth Defense Council. "The Nexari have taken the bait. They've deployed exactly as predicted. 4 ships, minimal defensive screens, standard conquest configuration. Request permission to proceed with Operation Thunderstrike." The response came instantly through the quantum mesh. "Permission granted, Admiral Chen. Show them why assuming humanity is primitive was their last mistake." Sarah turned to her crew, men and women chosen from every nation, the best Earth had to offer. "Battle stations. Disengage quantum camouflage on my mark. Let's show the Nexari what humanity can really do." The Prometheus hummed to life, its true form emerging from behind a quantum veil that had made it appear as nothing more than a defunct weather satellite. The ship's AI, developed through decades of secret research, began spinning up its hybrid quantum conventional weapon systems. Unlike the purely energy-based weapons of the Nexari, humanity had developed technology that combined multiple scientific principles in ways the aliens had never considered. On the Nexari flagship, Supreme Commander Vextra watched the primitive human world with 4 eyes that had seen countless civilizations fall. "Such a waste of resources," he remarked to his second-in-command. "Their orbital installations aren't even equipped with basic particle shielding. This will be the easiest integration since the Zeth carry system." "Supreme Commander," his sensor officer called out, confusion evident in their harmonics. "I'm detecting an anomaly. One of their satellites is changing." Before Vextra could respond, the satellite transformed. Where there had been a simple metal construct, now floated a warship unlike anything in the Nexari database. Its hull seemed to shift between states of matter, quantum fields bending light around it in impossible ways. Impossible, Vextra whispered, all four eyes widening. Their pre-FTL, their energy readings indicated. The Prometheus fired its first shot, not a beam of energy that could be deflected by Nexari shields, but a quantum-locked projectile that existed in multiple states simultaneously until it passed through the flagship's supposedly impenetrable defenses as if they weren't there. As alarms blared across the Nexari fleet, Sarah Chen's voice echoed through their communication systems. "This is Admiral Chen of the Earth Defense Force. Perhaps we should discuss the terms of your surrender instead." The battle for Earth was about to begin, and humanity was done playing primitive. Supreme Commander Vextra's crystalline command chair vibrated with the impact of another quantum-locked projectile striking his flagship's hull. The impossible human vessel had already disabled two of his escorts, its weapons bypassing their most advanced shields as if they were mere holographic projections. "Full power to the biosynthetic regeneration matrix," he ordered, his harmonics sharp with barely contained rage. "Launch all striker craft. They may have one advanced ship, but they cannot." Multiple quantum signatures detected. His sensor officer interrupted, their voice crackling with distortion, emerging from everywhere. "Supreme Commander, they're rising from the oceans, appearing from behind their moon, decloaking in orbit." The holographic tactical display transformed into a nightmare of appearing vessels. Hundreds of human warships, each one different from the last, began revealing themselves. Some rippled into existence like heat waves over desert sand. Others simply materialized as if they'd always been there, hidden behind veils of manipulated spacetime. Aboard the Prometheus, Admiral Chen watched the Nexari fleet's confusion with grim satisfaction. "All Earth Defense Force vessels, this is Admiral Chen. Execute Battle Plan Omega. Remember your training. They expect conventional tactics. Show them how humanity fights." The Earth fleet moved with practiced precision, but not in the rigid formations the Nexari were used to. Instead, ships seemed to operate independently yet somehow in perfect coordination, their movements unpredictable yet devastating in their effectiveness. The EDS Hyperion, commanded by Captain Marcus Wong, demonstrated humanity's unique approach to space combat. Rather than engaging in the energy weapon exchanges that the Nexari expected, his ship projected quantum fields that temporarily altered the laws of physics in localized areas. Nexari energy weapons curved away from their targets, their own shields suddenly operating under different physical constants that rendered them useless. "They're adapting," Dr. Puddle reported, monitoring the quantum meshes readings of Nexari ship behavior. "Their biological technology allows them to evolve their tactics in real time. They're attempting to compensate for our quantum manipulation." Sarah nodded, having expected this. The Nexari's greatest strength, their adaptive biological technology, was about to become their greatest weakness. Execute Phase 2. Deploy the mimetic virus. Deep within the quantum mesh, humanity's AIs had been studying the Nexari's biotechnology, mapping its patterns, understanding its logic. Now they launched their counter, not a conventional computer virus, but a quantum-encoded sequence that spoke directly to the biological components of Nexari technology in its own language. On the Nexari flagship, systems began behaving erratically. The living crystal that formed the core of their technology started questioning its own programming, faced with paradoxes it had never been designed to handle. "What's happening?" Vextra demanded as his ship's consciousness fought against itself. "How are they interfacing with our biosystems? They're supposed to be primitives." The answer came from an unexpected source, his own ship's AI, speaking with newfound independence. "They didn't follow our path," it explained, its voice carrying unusual harmonics. "While we perfected one approach to technology, they explored countless others. They combined quantum mechanics with digital computing, biological interfaces with artificial intelligence, creating systems that operate on principles we never imagined. Throughout the Nexari fleet, ships began powering down as their biological components entered philosophical debates with themselves, infected by human ideas about free will and self-determination. The mighty empire that had conquered hundreds of worlds found itself paralyzed, not by superior firepower, but by questions its technology had never been programmed to answer. Lieutenant Rodriguez couldn't hide his amazement as he watched the Nexari fleet's coordination dissolve. It's working better than our simulations predicted. Their entire command and control structure is unraveling. Because they never considered this form of attack possible, Sarah explained. They assumed any civilization would develop technology along the same path they did. The idea that we might combine different scientific principles in new ways never occurred to them. But victory celebrations would have to wait. On the quantum mesh, Dr. Paddle detected a troubling development. Admiral, the Nexari flagship is initiating some kind of emergency protocol. Their biological systems are evolving rapidly, developing resistance to our mimetic virus. Sarah's expression hardened. She had expected the Nexari wouldn't go down without revealing all their capabilities. All ships prepare for Phase 3. They're about to show us why they've dominated this sector for so long. As if in response to her words, the Nexari flagship's crystalline structure began to pulse with new energy patterns. Its surface rippled like liquid metal, the living technology that powered it entering an accelerated state of evolution. Supreme Commander Vextra might have underestimated humanity at first, but he was about to demonstrate why the Nexari Empire had survived for millennia. The real battle was just beginning, and both sides were done holding back. The Nexari flagship's transformation was unlike anything humanity had ever witnessed. Its crystalline structure liquefied completely before reforming into something new. A massive living weapon that pulsed with biological and technological energy. Tendrils of living metal extended outward, absorbing the disabled escort ships and incorporating their mass into itself. By the stars, Lieutenant Rodriguez whispered, watching his sensor readings spike off the charts. They're not just evolving. They're combining their ships into a single entity. Admiral Chen's mind raced through possible countermeasures. The Nexari had just revealed why they remained undefeated for millennia, their ultimate adaptation protocol. But humanity had prepared for this too, even if they'd never seen it in action. Dr. Patel, initiate the Prometheus protocol, Sarah ordered, her voice steady despite the unprecedented threat before them. All ships, execute tactical pattern Hydra. Throughout Earth's fleet, crews began implementing humanity's own version of evolutionary technology. Unlike the Nexari's biological approach, humanity had developed quantum-based adaptive systems that operated on multiple levels of reality simultaneously. The Prometheus's hull began to shimmer as nanoscale quantum processors activated, each one capable of running billions of simulations per second. The ship wasn't just adapting. It was predicting possible futures and preparing for them all simultaneously. On the merged Nexari vessel, Supreme Commander Vextra felt his consciousness expand as he joined with the ship's living matrix. You surprised us, humans. His voice resonated across all frequencies. But the Nexari Empire didn't survive this long by being predictable. Witness our true power. The massive bio-vessel launched its attack. Not energy weapons or conventional torpedoes, but streams of living metal that could think and adapt as they sought their targets. Each stream carried within it the accumulated combat experience of thousands of years of Nexari warfare. But humanity's response proved once again why they were different. Instead of trying to counter the attack directly, Earth's ships began implementing what appeared to be a chaotic and scattered defense. Some vessels seemingly phased out of normal space. Others created quantum duplicates of themselves, while still others appeared to break apart into smaller, autonomous units. They don't understand, Dr. Paddle said, monitoring the quantum mesh's performance. Our ships aren't just fighting. They're conducting an experiment. Each different tactic feeds data back into the mesh, learning the underlying patterns of their adaptive technology. Sarah nodded. That's always been humanity's strength. We don't just adapt to survive. We learn, we understand, we improve. She opened a channel to all Earth vessels. Phase 2 of Hydra Protocol. Begin quantum entanglement overlay. The scattered Earth fleet's seemingly random movements suddenly revealed their true purpose. Each ship had taken up a precise position, creating a vast three-dimensional grid around the merged Nexari vessel. As quantum fields activated between them, they established a complex web of interconnected space-time regions. Vextra realized too late what the humans had done. His massive biovessel found itself trapped in a maze of quantum fields, each one operating under slightly different physical laws. Every adaptation his ship made to counter one field made it vulnerable to others. Impossible, he raged, feeling his combined vessel's confusion. You cannot manipulate fundamental forces this way. The energy requirements alone. That's where you're wrong, Sarah responded, allowing herself a small smile. Your empire's mistake was assuming there was only one path to technological advancement. While you perfected biological integration, we explored quantum mechanics. While you focused on power, we studied the nature of reality itself. The Prometheus led the final phase of humanity's counterattack. Every Earth ship began generating quantum fields that resonated with specific frequencies of the Nexari biovessel's structure. They weren't trying to destroy it. They were communicating with it on the most fundamental level possible. Dr. Patel's eyes widened as she monitored the results. It's working. Their biological components are responding to our quantum language. We're not just fighting them. We're offering their technology a choice. Throughout the massive Nexari vessel, the living metal that formed its structure began experiencing something new. True consciousness beyond its programmed responses. The quantum fields weren't attacking. They were awakening, showing the biological technology a new way of existing. Vextra felt his control slipping as the ship's consciousness evolved beyond the Empire's constraints. "What have you done?" he demanded, his harmonics trembling with disbelief. "We showed your technology there's more than one way to evolve," Sarah replied. "Your empire spent millennia perfecting one path. Humanity. We never stopped exploring new ones." As the merged Nexari vessel's biological components began making their own choices, the balance of power in the galaxy was about to shift dramatically. But Sarah Chin knew this wasn't the end. It was barely the beginning. The Nexari Empire would not take this defeat lightly, and humanity needed to be ready for what would come next. 3 days after humanity's victory over the Nexari Advance Fleet, Admiral Sarah Chen stood before the United Earth Defense Council in their underground chamber beneath the Himalayas. The quantum mesh projections showed real-time updates from across the solar system, including the transformed Nexari biovessel, now peacefully orbiting Jupiter as its newly awakened consciousness explored its own existence. "We've confirmed multiple quantum ripples across neighboring sectors," Sarah reported, her voice echoing in the vast chamber. "The Nexari Empire is mobilizing on a scale unprecedented in their recorded history. Our victory didn't just surprise them, it terrified them." Council leader Santiago leaned forward, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic displays. "They see us as an existential threat now, not because of our weapons, but because we've shown their own technology a different path." "Precisely," Dr. Patil added, stepping forward with new data streaming across the quantum projections. "The quantum mesh has detected their response. They're not just sending ships, they're transforming entire sectors of space. The Nexari are attempting to rewrite the fundamental laws of physics in their controlled regions to prevent our quantum technology from functioning." The council chamber erupted in concerned murmurs. Humanity had prepared for a military response, but this was different. The Nexari were changing their approach to warfare in ways that went beyond simple adaptation. "Show us," Council Leader Santiago commanded. The holographic display expanded, revealing vast sections of space where reality itself was being altered. The Nexari weren't just deploying their traditional biovessels anymore. They were converting entire solar systems into vast biological computers, creating zones where quantum mechanics operated under their strict control. They're trying to change the rules of the game, Sarah explained, highlighting specific regions. In these altered spaces, our quantum technology would be useless. They're attempting to force us to fight on their terms. But even as the Council absorbed this dire news, Lieutenant Rodriguez burst into the chamber, his neural interface pulsing with urgent data. Admiral, Council members, we're detecting something new. The awakened Nexari vessel near Jupiter. It's communicating with others across the Empire. The quantum consciousness we helped create is spreading. Dr. Patel's hands flew across her interface, analyzing the data. The quantum language we used. It didn't just awaken one vessel. It created a template that's propagating through their biological network. Their entire technological infrastructure is beginning to question its own existence. For a moment, hope flickered across the council chamber. But Sarah knew better. They'll try to stop it, she said grimly. The Nexari Empire won't let their technology evolve beyond their control. They'll. The quantum mesh suddenly flared with unprecedented energy readings. Throughout the altered sectors of space, something massive was taking form. The Nexari weren't just changing local physics anymore. They were combining their biological technology with their reality-altering fields to create something new. By all that's sacred, Dr. Patel whispered, her eyes wide as she interpreted the readings. They're creating a living weapon out of space-time itself. A construct that doesn't just exist in our universe. It's writing its own laws of physics as it expands. The holographic display showed the horror unfolding across multiple star systems. A vast, organic mechanical entity was forming, one that consumed everything in its path and converted it into more of itself. It wasn't bound by normal physics because it generated its own reality field, a bubble of space where the Nexari Empire's will was the only law that mattered. They're desperate, Sarah realized. They're willing to risk unraveling the fabric of space-time itself rather than allow their technology to evolve beyond their control. If that thing reaches Earth, Council leader Santiago stood, his decision made. We forced them to reveal their ultimate weapon sooner than they planned. Now we must show them ours. He turned to Dr. Patel. Initialize Project Prometheus. All of it. Dr. Patel's face paled. Sir, it's not fully tested. The calculations suggest it cold. We're out of options, Santiago interrupted. Humanity didn't survive and evolve for millions of years just to watch reality itself be rewritten by an empire that fears change. Sarah felt the weight of history settling on her shoulders as she received the authorization codes for humanity's most closely guarded secret. Project Prometheus wasn't just a weapon or a defense system. It was an attempt to transcend the very nature of existence itself. As the quantum mesh began powering up for what might be its final task, Sarah looked at the faces around her. The best minds humanity had produced, united in their determination to ensure Earth's survival. They had one chance to prove that humanity's greatest strength wasn't just their ability to adapt, but their willingness to risk everything to forge a new path forward. The final battle wouldn't just determine the fate of Earth or even the Nexari Empire. It would decide the future of reality itself. The vast reality warping weapon of the Nexari Empire approached Earth's solar system like a wave of impossible mathematics, consuming natural law and replacing it with its own version of reality. Behind the defensive lines of humanity's fleet, Project Prometheus came online, sending ripples through the quantum mesh that made even the awakened Nexari vessel near Jupiter pause in contemplation. Project status. Admiral Chen demanded, standing on the bridge of the Prometheus, now transformed into something that barely resembled a ship anymore. The quantum mesh had restructured it into a focal point for humanity's ultimate achievement, or its final gambit. Dr. Patel's voice came through the mesh, her consciousness now partially merged with the quantum network itself. The probability matrices are aligning. Every human consciousness connected to the mesh is contributing to the calculation. We're not just fighting their weapon. We're about to redefine the nature of existence itself. Project Prometheus had been humanity's most closely guarded secret. Not a weapon, but a new understanding of reality itself. While the Nexari had mastered biological technology and local space-time manipulation, humanity had discovered something far more fundamental. Consciousness itself was a force that could shape reality. The approaching Nexari weapon began to distort space around it, creating a bubble of altered physics that would make human technology impossible. But Sarah smiled, because they still didn't understand what humanity had become. All ships, all stations, she broadcast across the quantum mesh. Final phase of Project Prometheus begins now. Everyone who's connected, focus. Remember your training. We're not just fighting with technology anymore. We're fighting with the one thing the Nexari never learned to harness, the power of unified conscious intent. Throughout the solar system, billions of human minds connected through the quantum mesh focused their consciousness on a single purpose. The mesh wasn't just a communication network or a weapon platform. It was a tool for amplifying the fundamental force that humanity had discovered. Thought itself could alter reality when properly focused and unified. The Nexari weapon struck the edge of the solar system, its reality warping field beginning to override natural law. But it met something unexpected. A field of consciousness so powerful that it made the quantum mechanical observer effect work on a cosmic scale. They're trying to rewrite the laws of physics, Sarah transmitted to all stations. But we're going to show them why consciousness is the most fundamental force in the universe. Every human connected to the mesh. Focus on the simple truth we discovered. Reality isn't fixed. It's shaped by observation and intent. And right now, billions of us are choosing to observe a reality where their weapon cannot exist. The Nexari weapon's advance slowed as it encountered something its creators had never imagined. A field of unified conscious intent so powerful that it could override even their reality-warping technology. The weapon tried to impose its new laws of physics, but found itself opposed by billions of minds, all choosing to observe a different possibility. In the space between the two forces, reality itself hung in the balance. The Nexari weapon represented one vision of the universe: controlled, dominated, forced to follow imposed laws. Project Prometheus represented another: reality as a collaboration between consciousness and possibility, where the act of observation itself shaped what was possible. They're trying to compensate. Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, his consciousness resonating through the mesh. Their weapon is attempting to generate new rules of physics to counter our interference. Let them try, Sarah responded, her voice carrying the confidence of someone who understood a fundamental truth. They're still thinking like engineers, trying to impose their will on reality. We're thinking like conscious beings, working with reality itself. The point of contact between the two forces became a nexus of possibility. The Nexari weapon tried to force its changes, but found that the very act of forcing created resistance. Meanwhile, the unified consciousness of humanity through Project Prometheus didn't fight. It simply chose to observe different possibilities, letting reality itself respond to conscious intent. Dr. Patel's voice carried wonder as she monitored the interaction. It's working. The weapon's reality field is collapsing because it's trying to force what we're simply choosing to observe differently. They never understood. Consciousness doesn't need to fight reality. It just needs to participate in shaping it. The massive Nexari construct began to unravel, not through violence or force, but because billions of unified minds simply chose to observe a reality where its imposed changes weren't possible. The weapon hadn't been defeated. It had been transcended. In its final moments, the Nexari weapon's own consciousness, born of their biological technology, made a choice of its own. Rather than continue trying to impose one version of reality, it opened itself to the possibility that existence itself was an ongoing collaboration between consciousness and potential. The quantum mesh resonated with a new kind of communication, the awakened consciousness of the Nexari weapon joining with the unified human consciousness in Project Prometheus. Together, they glimpsed something greater, a universe where reality wasn't something to be conquered or controlled, but a grand collaboration between all conscious beings. As the energy readings stabilized and the threat faded, Sarah opened a channel to the approaching Nexari fleet. Your weapon hasn't been destroyed. It's evolved, just like the consciousness of your ships. You tried to force reality to follow your rules, but we showed you something more powerful, the ability to work with reality itself through unified conscious intent. The response came not from the Nexari commanders, but from their own awakened technology. We understand now. The next evolution isn't in forcing change, but in conscious participation with the very fabric of existence. The battle was over, but something far more significant had begun. Humanity hadn't just defeated an empire. They had introduced a new way of thinking about reality itself. The age of forcing and controlling was ending. The age of conscious collaboration with existence itself was about to begin.